Good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good morning, and whatever time of day it is where you are. And welcome to Brew Crew, episode 14. This is a subscribers only random stream. Yes, I do have these as subscribers only. Now, all you have to do if you want to participate in the chat is subscribe to the channel for 1 minute. Then you can participate in the stream. I do want to say hello to Thomas Potts and to Super Blubberpuss, who are in the chat. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Deej was wanting me to stream. I'm not sure why. So it was Kronos earlier. So I'm going to send Kronos the link, at least to the YouTube part, because he said something before because he didn't know. So now he does. Send it to him on Discord. So if anybody says anything, you can say, well, Cap told you on Discord, and I did. Ah, okay. He'll have to lurk. No problem. Oops, I guess I gave away a secret. Oh, well. So, yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. I wasn't really sure why Deej was wanting me to stream, and I thought, okay, what the hell? I'll go ahead and do it. Super Cleverpuss, why is this stream so late today? Because I wasn't going to stream today. I said I was not going to be doing a morning brew. I even said this on Brew Praise yesterday. I also said something to LDG that there would be no morning brew. And Deej wanted me to stream. He said, well, it's after morning brew time, so he wanted me to stream. So I thought, okay, I'll stream a little bit. No big deal. It's not morning brew. And Thomas says, your morning brew is ending more recently than normal. Usually get to watch the end when I wake up. Well, part of that has actually been due to, um, well, honestly, if there aren't at least 12 people in the chat tends to die. And if the panel isn't saying much and the chat isn't saying much, I don't necessarily have something to say. So, yeah, if the chat's not active and I don't know what to say, I just say, okay, fine, end it. But, so yeah, there have been times it's like, oh, there's 10 people in chat. Well, okay, nobody's talking. So, yeah, that's what happens. Uh, and let's see here. Of course. Oh, hey, Aberjam. Sorry about that. Didn't see you there before. I just scrolled up. And yes, Kronos had it himself because he does have things that he needs to do, chores and such. You'll take the link. Okay. Yes. I was actually waiting for a little bit. And greetings, the Catman, aka DD Myers. What's going on today? There we go. Now I can pin that to. There we go. That's been taken care of. And at least Kronos will be able to listen while he does his chores. Uh, DD Myers says not much going on, just chilling out. Well, that's cool. Um, you do anything in particular, or just like watching something, or reading, or and yes, we've got Aberjam or Aber whatever.
A banana.
Uh,
A banana.
oh Lord, I'm gonna try to.
So how's life in the great state of misery?
Going all right. Um, actually, I was on DJ's stream earlier, and it was fine. And then the panel got a little more hectic, so yeah, I kind of quieted down.
Fair enough. So why no morning brew today? Any particular reason?
Well, Thursday, Yvette takes off, and without Yvette and Bird there, numbers are not good. And I know numbers aren't necessarily important, but without people in the chat to actively participate, without somebody to actually talk to, it's more difficult. It's easier. It's easier for me if I can actually talk to somebody like you right now.
Yeah, of course. Not everyone has the gift of the gab, right? Some of us, we just make do as best we can.
I mean, I am more like a radio DJ. I could play off of somebody else. That I can do.
Right.
I can even get inspired and go off on a tangent based on something that either you say or you make me think, and then go off on a tangent. But without somebody else here, I'm not Bird. I'm not anyone else. I'm not Doomcock or fill in the blank, who can just go off and ramble about whatever the fuck topic they want, because that's not me.
Yeah. No, I'm much the same. I can't really monologue very well. I do better playing off of others.
I don't know. For me, it's more fun. I could. There are a couple of things I could get on and rant about, but
oh yeah,
this is more of a I don't know, more of a community thing.
Yeah.
Which is why first of all, yes, Morning Brew is always open. I will not go to a members only stream on that. Unless something really radical happens, then I'll just go to what do you call it? Slow mode.
Yeah.
That'll be the thing I do. I go to slow mode. Half the people are in their mods. Slow mode does not affect a moderator. So the only people that would affect are people that are either not moderators or new. So, and the only effect that being new here does on these streams, I should say, they're not able to participate in chat until they subscribe for 1 minute. That's it.
Yeah, it's not a big ask, is it?
Anyone is welcome to obviously just listen. They don't have to necessarily subscribe, but if they want to participate, yeah, you kind of have to. Mm-hmm. I don't have an issue with that. Now, I'm not going to have. Well, number one, I'm never going to have a channel big enough where I'm going to have, members. Like Bert does, where he has a members only stream, or things like that.
Yeah.
And hello, 47 Yorktown.
And Thomas Potts rightly observes, as I was going to say, the slow mode in chat wouldn't work too well for Bird, seeing as he wrenches pretty much everyone. If you want to feel special in Bird's chat, don't accept a wrench. He's like Oprah Winfrey, and you get a wrench, and you get a wrench, and you get a wrench.
He wanted to slow us down. Well, guess what? You're going to have to unwrench people to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. No. Here's what we need to do. We need to find out who writes these Frank and Freddy things, or the soft putty ones. Demod them.
I can't believe that Frank and Freddy is still going. I thought that died out ages ago.
It should have.
It should have, yeah.
And that soft putty thing. I literally would grab. I can see a baseball bat in my sight right now. I would literally grab that bat and whack them in the damn knees.
For the longest time, I honestly thought that soft putty was rock solid.
Well, at first I did, because they weren't exactly nice, but they were kind of tongue in cheek type thing. It wasn't as bad as it got. At first it was like, okay, yeah, ha ha ha, funny. So I thought it was him. I thought he was just making fun of himself and blah blah blah. We all kind of do that.
Yeah.
As nerds, we've kind of gotten to the point of self-deprecation to as a defense mechanism. Okay, right. That I got. Then it went to outright fucking attacks.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck you, no, go away. And Soft Putty was an actual account. Soft Putty is the only account on YouTube Burrow Pro 5 has blocked. Bird has actually blocked someone.
Wow. Takes a lot to achieve that.
So, yeah, that is the list of the dishonored. I mean, you look at all Bird puts up with. He has no problem with.
Yeah.
I mean, he's even had times, like that one guy. Salty Turk and I were both messaging Bird, not knowing the other one was doing it. Get rid of the guy. Get rid of him. And he was no. Finally, things came up and it got to the breaking point, and he kicked them. Didn't ban them, but kicked them. So,
Well, Bird thinks he kicked the guy, but he doesn't seem too sure whether he did or not. When I watched the stream, it looked to me like the guy rage quit. He did actually say he was going. So whether he rage quit or maybe Bird just got to the button before the guy got there himself, I don't know. But the whole thing was very odd.
And good, I don't know what time of day it is where you are. Good morning or good afternoon, games, movies, and comics for us. How are you today? How's it going? Pretty good, actually. Um, got to enjoy a morning of not being on stream. Yay. Um, actually, I even made up. See, I'm trying to talk somebody into doing this on Thursday, but I don't think they will. But I even made up a special image just for them. I think it actually looks nice.
You've been getting all arty, have you?
Let's see here. Really? There it is. Need to open the file because I want to show it. So,
Oh, cool.
and like I said, I don't know if he'll do it or not, but I went ahead.
Well, now you've put in all this effort, they're going to have to do it. It would be rude not to.
Well, no, I don't want to force anybody into doing anything. You know, that would be rude.
Yes, it would. I'm just yanking your chain, Cappers.
And here we go. Let's go ahead and share screen. Oh, let me do that.
You know, I see some great channel names in the chat when people are chatting, but a lot of the time it's not very conducive to sending comments at them.
Like?
Oh, like DD Myers, aka something cat something something. It's just too much for me to type that.
Well, I forget you have a phone and it doesn't autocomplete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here now. Open with, let's go with scroll down.
It
Really?
does autocomplete on Twitch when I use the Twitch app, but for some reason
Now, I wonder why it doesn't do that.
I don't know. But for some reason YouTube doesn't like to autocomplete on the Android version. Greetings, Keck44. Hope you are well today.
And hey, Tech24, what's going on? Okay.
Yes, I haven't written any Dear Bops in quite a long time. I should probably get back on top of that. They're
Now,
good
see,
fun to
I
write.
like some good creative Dear Bops. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I do. But, oh, wait. Try to get set up again. But some of them went beyond
You've got to know where the line
normal.
is, right? It's all very well,
Yeah.
you know, being a little bit kind of subversive and maybe throwing in a little friendly backhanded insult, but you've got to know where the line is, you know.
Yeah. That was the issue. It was some people not knowing where the line was, and it just sometimes gets irritating to me.
Yeah.
I
No,
could be,
I'm with
you
you
know,
on that. Totally agree. And Thomas
Okay.
Potts says that iPad and iPhone also doesn't autofill. Yeah, that sucks.
And there we go.
People just half-assing their apps. Thursday morning, whatever. I like that. That's good, man.
Well, see, that's what he called it this morning. That's actually not bad.
Well, I saw him streaming just before you came on, and I'm sure that was the icon that he was using. I could be wrong.
Because I sent it. I sent this to him on Twitter.
Let me have a quick look and see if he's streaming.
Because he could have changed to that, which would have been cool. Because I actually took different images. I layered stuff. You know, it wasn't just there's an image. Oh, here, let me add some text to it.
Yeah.
I mean, that would okay, that would be easy. Oh no, no, that's not my way. I go with hey, let's make it a little more complicated.
And nope, he's not streaming right now.
No, he quit a while ago, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know when. And Thomas says, oh, I'm on my phone. I just type hello Catman.
I mean, that'll work.
I've had an iPhone also do autofill, which I don't like. And then he said, yes, I should force.
I wouldn't mind autofill. I wouldn't mind autofill if it actually got things right. But when you're trying to search for something or if you're typing a message, it very rarely actually gives you the words you want.
Well, there's a difference between autocomplete, like what they try to do in a text, and autofill if you were to use, all it would take would be the right scripting,
Mm-hmm.
and they could do it. But
It's
so how are you doing?
still.
How are you doing, Games? You gonna be streaming today?
It still disheartens me how we can put a drone on the back of a comet doing 1,000 miles per hour, hundreds of thousands of miles away from planet Earth, but we still can't do decent autocorrect. You know, just it boggles my brain. So I found out an interesting little tidbit yesterday because, as we know, the whole He-Man Kevin Smith debacle has been a thing, and the Netflix Twitter account tweeted out that the new designs for the women in He-Man were inspired by Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman and Legend of Korra. And well, I found out that apparently Korra is her design was inspired by Gina Carano, and somehow I don't think lefty liberal Netflix would be too happy at the thought of Tila being based on Gina Carano by proxy. I found that a little entertaining. And Blubberpuss says autofill autocomplete is horrendous and anti-literate. I totally agree, sir. I'm with you on that one. So, Kappas, are you looking forward to 6 more years of Kurtzman Trek?
No.
I had a feeling you might say that. I just why how is it so hard to get it right? Like, it doesn't have to even be brilliant Trek. It's just moderately respectful of canon Trek. Shouldn't be that difficult. But we're
Oh,
just
oh, oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to know how to reply to this because I got a message that I will say is ignorant and stupid, and I know that the person's not watching. Okay, I'm okay. I'm not going to hang out on a channel that talks shit about social justice warriors and Antifa. Antifa means against fascism. So I am Antifa. Anyone who is against social justice is racist, in my opinion. Social uh, social justice is the process of ensuring that individuals fulfill their societal roles and receive what was due from society.
the wonderful naivety of the wide open-eyed 19-year-old college student, eh? To that particular commentary, if you don't like what we're talking about, you're welcome to fuck off and watch somebody else. Go and join another channel that's in your thought bubble. If you don't want to hear opposing views, not difficult to do. Antifa used to stand for anti-fascism, but the far left has adopted it now to mean anti-capitalism using fascistic methods. Antifa have become the authoritarian, bullish types. So it's become an incredibly self-unaware and ironic term. Thomas Potts says, "Would we all know who that moron is?" I don't know if we all would, but Captain says he knows who it is. So
Yes.
if that particular commenter's watching, we are open to discussion. But if all you want to do is whine and say, "I don't want to be on this channel," then just leave. You don't have to tell us. You don't need to seek permission. Go watch a different stream or a different video. If you want to talk about it, come talk about it. It always amazes me when people want to announce the fact that they're not going to watch. Why do we need to know? Just stop watching.
Well, this is the kind of bullshit messages I deal with every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just the first time I'm choosing to actually talk about it on air, and I've read the thing.
It wasn't for you, was it?
Huh?
It wasn't from Nancy Pelosi, was it?
No.
Or AOC? Oh, excuse me. So it's Bird's DS9 night tonight, isn't it? Or was that last night?
That was yesterday.
That was yesterday. And Dr. Scotty's in the chat. He says, "Hi, Captain Trek. Thanks for streaming."
Well, you're welcome. By the way, how are you doing today, Dr. Scotty?
I don't think I've seen Dr. Scotty before.
He's been on a few times.
Mm-hmm. So if you were going to fix Star Trek, who would you have in charge of it?
Uh, I don't know who I'd have in charge of it. I'd have to actually give that some thought. Um, Somebody with half a brain. I mean,
It seems like that's quite a rare commodity these days. Would you bring Rick Berman back?
that would be a good choice. Yes.
I'd love to see Michael Straczynski, the writer of Babylon 5. I think he'd do a smashing job. Or Ronald D. Moore. But there's no way Kurtzman is going to take on someone who knows what they're doing. And these people making videos right now speculating that, oh, well, Kurtzman's actually just sort of failing up. He's getting someone else to actually produce the show. No, Kurtzman will be looking for someone who is inexperienced and easy to manipulate and dictate to. We'll still get the same old crap that's been shoveled out the last 5 years. Blubberpuss doesn't want Rick Berman back. Yes, I know he was kind of a thorn in people's sides a while back, but now that you've seen Discovery, does he really seem that bad? And Bird, the great Kurogan Coxbird, is in the chat. Good morning, Bird. Welcome to the land of the conscious. Blubberpuss says the politics would stay the same with Berman. I don't know that they would. You know, he wasn't as extreme lefty liberal as the current camp are. And Crimson Mist is in the chat. Greetings, Crimson Mist. How are you?
Yes, Crimson Mist. How are you today?
Did you ever see the Battlestar Galactica reboot 2004?
Yes, I did.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I only got around to actually watching it this year, but I thought it was brilliant. You know, as much as I love the original show, I would dare go as far as to say that the remake is actually better. I thought they did a fantastic job. It's a little bit slow going. The first half of season one
The
drags a
beginning of the
little.
season one, yeah, it wasn't great.
I mean,
Once they dropped the whole female Starbuck thing, it got better.
yeah. Once she stopped trying to be Dirk Benedict and
Yeah.
started making a Starbuck her own character, it definitely worked a lot better. And I'm glad they made that creative choice.
Yes. Well, I hope you had fun on vacation.
Were you anywhere exciting, Crimson? Somewhere sunny and warm?
Hmm.
Seems a bird is in lurking mode at the moment. He announced himself and then disappeared.
He probably fell asleep.
It's our friend the serial stream napper.
Let's see here. Somebody's backstage.
But it's Bird.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Testing, testing.
Yep, we can hear you. What's
We
going on,
hear you.
Crimson Mist?
It's I had to shut down YouTube because I was hearing that echo there. But what? It's been a pretty busy couple days since I've been back from vacation because just been trying to catch up on a lot of work because we're getting ready for the new school year that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So don't mind me. As for where I went to, well, I went to someplace that was kind of that was kind of sunny, but was actually much cooler than where I've been.
Uh-huh.
And that was Central California. So, and it was mainly for my daughter's benefit because she gets to meet her online friends there. But I did do a few things here, like finally get to see the ocean for the first time. Tried going in, but it was very cold, and it's actually been like in the 70s where I've been living, where I was staying, and I've been staying around Gilroy and Hollister, and I've also visited San Juan Bautista, where they took some pictures of the old mission, and also the Main Street, which still has a lot of the old Western look to it. And also went to Casa de Fruta and bought some stuff there, including some wines and such. Also, we did a stopover at Donner Pass because my wife's always been interested in the Donner Party. Apparently, she had a relative or a distant relative that went on that trip with. So overall, it got a little frustrating at times because we were trying to find an accessible beach that wasn't so crowded. We drove down Highway 1, down the coast all the way down to Big Sur, and then we made a mistake. We were supposed to go north instead of south of Monterey. We did finally do that, but my wife still couldn't get on because she was having asthma issues, and the sand, walking on the sand and down some slopes didn't help matters at all. But not bad. It was overall a pretty good trip.
Okay, I'm glad you had a good time. Especially given the last 18 months, it's important to find a decent bit of rest and relaxation and let the stresses float away.
Well, funny thing you mentioned that because as we were driving back, we were driving through Nevada, and we stopped over in an old mining town that's still doing okay, called Elko, and we stopped over at the Stockman Casino, and then overnight they put in the mask mandate for much of Nevada, where there was a lot of congregations, including gambling casinos. So, yep, the mask came back on in that state. Thankfully, we don't have that mandate here where I live, which is Utah, so far. So, but hopefully they'll hold that off for a little while longer. Although the wagons are circling especially with school, due to open back up in a couple of weeks here, and so it's going to be quite something there.
Yeah. And Keck 44 is leaving us. Take care, Keck. Good to
Take
see
care.
you.
Always good to see you.
Blubberpuss is having an interesting conversation in the chat with Robert, Mr. Green Robert, about how having a female Cylon is a cheap trope in Babylon 5, in Battlestar Galactica. What I will say to you, Blubberpuss, is if you are struggling for something good to watch, I would highly suggest you go back and give it a good chance. Take a good chunk out of it. Watch at least the first half of season 1. And if you're still not convinced by halfway through the season, then fair enough. But I think dropping out on the first episode is maybe selling yourself short a little. I think you'll find as time goes on, you'll probably really enjoy it. It is a very well written, very well produced show.
Yeah, I've only seen the episode of New Galactica, and it was actually well made. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and with regards to the female Cylon, it's actually a very key element to the entire show, right the way through all nine seasons, 7 seasons, I think it was. But it's a very key element to the show. It's not just a cheap trick. And to give you some idea of why they weren't doing stuff for the sake of cheap tropes or diversity or whatever. The prime example I will point at is the fact that they took the character Sol Tai, who was originally a black character, and they cast a white guy to play Sol Tai because they wanted the best people for the job. And I can't think of a single production team now that would even dare to consider replacing a traditionally black character with a white one. Just wouldn't happen. So, I think the vast majority of choices in Battlestar Galactica were creative choices and made for the benefit of making the best show possible. So yeah, definitely give it another shot if you're struggling for something to watch. Yes, yeah, you're being a little overreactive, I think, Blubberpuss. She is a key element, but she's not the only key element. She's not. It's not like she's the key to everything. There are a great many characters in the show that are integral, and they're not all female, and they're not all black, and they're not all Asian. There's a very diverse cast, and as I say, I think, for being the best person for the job, the most suitable person for the role. And a lot of them have a very key, intricate part to play. It's not just a one tack story. It has many intertwining, complex character arcs in it.
And something else to keep in mind too, when Glenn Larson, who originally created Battlestar Galactica, was creating the concept, he actually based it on Mormon theology, which is something I'm very familiar with, and he kind of draw up on that. They have a world called Kolob, and there's a Mormon song called "If You Could Get to Kolob High," and so it doesn't get sang very much, but yeah, there is a lot of some elements in their theology that they've distanced themselves away on since, because that suggests that that they may have come, that's the gods may have come from another world, and so at least they kind of kept some of that with new Galactica. And I've heard how the series ended, so I'm not going to be, doesn't surprise
Yes,
me. And
no
at least
spoilers.
it's better than Galactica 1980. If anybody's ever seen
Oh
that show,
God.
yeah.
I just want to address Blubberpuss. Blubberpuss says, I understand, but there could easily have been a more interesting and original way to expand the series. Well, with all due respect, Blubberpuss, you've seen one episode. Come back after you've seen at least one season, and then we can have that conversation.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely.
But from where I stand, the devices they used to carry the story were diverse, were interesting, and weren't just doing something for the sake of doing something. They actually all of the major plot devices served the story extremely well and have a great deal of thought behind them.
And I will say, if they had stuck with the format of the opening episode, there wouldn't have been any point in watching any further.
You're
But
talking about you're talking about 55, right?
Yeah.
The whole 55-minute thing. Yeah, it was great. It was their way, I think, of trying to make the opening couple of episodes kind of tense and keeping you gripped and interesting, but they didn't quite work that way for me. But once they drop the whole 55 thing and they start opening things up a little bit more, it gets a lot more interesting for me, and you get more character development as well. An old cliche, Blubberpuss. What isn't an old cliche in movie making and TV making? What isn't an old? Everything's been done, you know. I mean, if your one complaint is, oh, they had a female Cylon and that's cliche, I think you're really selling it very short, and you're allowing yourself to miss out on a potentially great sci-fi show. It's one of the best out there, and I think I'm not in the minority in saying that.
well, and the fact that they had the classic Cylons as well. Um, I I like the fact that there wasn't just a one one shape fits all type of thing. Um, where they because I remember when they gutted a Cylon once and they walked in the uniform. It's like okay, that was fine in the '70s, but yeah, this
I
actually
don't know
took more
that
thought.
I don't know that human Cylon is an overused trope, Blunderpuss. I don't know any other show that has human Cylons other than the Battlestar Galactica remake. So I'm not sure where your issue is there. If you're talking about taking something that would be CG heavy and replacing it with something that isn't, like replacing a robot with a human, there's a small argument to be made there. But as I say, it's even that decision serves the show. It's an intricate part of the progressive plot of the show and the character arcs within it. It's a meaningful device, not just a cheap trope. And if you watched the whole season, you'd know that. But you dropped out after episode one, so as I say respectfully, you don't have much position to talk about whether or not it's a cheap trope.
Seriously, you do need to watch it at least a season. I mean, honestly, I don't even think you'll need the season because after a few episodes, yeah, there's no problem. But and this isn't like some of those. There were a couple shows. Oh, you got to get past the first season. No, that's horse shit. Uh, go through at least 3 episodes. If you don't begin to see progress in that time, don't watch. But at least you tried.
Yes, Blubberpuss, you might have been typing that while I answered you. Yes, I understand. There is a amount of weight you can put to the argument of yes, replacing robots with humans to save dollars. But as I say, in the case of Battlestar Galactica, having human Cylons, without going into spoilers, having human Cylons is a very powerful part of the story, and they use it to its strength, and it's a very effective thing to have in the show to drive the plot forward and create a great many complex and interesting character arcs and sub stories. It may have been initially an idea of saving money, but they do have classic Cylons in there. There's plenty of CG in the show. It wouldn't have been a cheap show to make. There's lots of special effects of space battles and whatnot.
Now, and this is also, this deals with what Professor said about it being dark and gritty. This is proof that dark and gritty does work when done the right way.
Yeah, it does. And yes, Blower Plus, you do. They have the classic Cylons in there as well as human Cylons. And they appear quite frequently. If you watch more than one episode, you'll know that.
Yeah, if they just had the human Cylons, that would have destroyed the show.
I don't know if it would have destroyed the show, but certainly having the classic Cylons in there gives it a great deal more authenticity.
Yeah. And it also, again goes to paying homage to what came before, because you have the classic Cylons as well as the new class of them.
Yeah, and it's true, Professor Brainy Specs, that the robot Cylons are featured less than the human Cylons. But again, that's more to do with plot than it is to do with budget, I would say, because this was clearly, when you watch the show, even though for it was 16 years ago, so even though the CG now might look a little patchy compared to today,
right?
For its time, it was clearly a pretty big budget show.
Yeah,
and they didn't, they didn't cut corners. There's plenty of space battles and CG if that's your bag, and the sets are well made. They got some pretty big sets. It doesn't look like a cheap show by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and you're correct. They used the human Cylons more, but they had enough times where the classic Cylons were used that you recognize that this was. They're still there. They're still a part of the story. It's not just these 9. Was it 9 or 10? I don't remember.
I think it was 9. It was an odd number. It was either 7 or 9. I think you're right with 9.
Because there were I think there were the original 7, and then there were 3 extras. I don't remember what it was. It's been years now.
Well, we're going into spoilers a bit. I know it's a 16-year-old show, but yeah, initially you're put under the impression that there's only a few, and then further revelations come, and that number expands. Yes, indeed, Robert. The real Cylons were in the show as well. I wouldn't call them
Absolutely.
real. I would call them classic or original.
Yeah, the original Cylons were in there, but they had the, that'd be like calling the, I can't remember what it was, the one from Terminator 2, the liquid metal guy.
T-1000.
The T-1000. Not a real Terminator because he wasn't the classic Terminator, but the T-1000s.
And take care, Professor. Have a good day, sir.
Yes, have a good day, Professor.
Yeah, everyone loves the T-1000. It's not the classic T-800, but everyone loves it. And they're both the real Terminator. I tell you what, though, Robert Patrick hasn't aged well. I mean, it's been, 30-odd years, but yeah. He's definitely looking rough around the edges these days. Good actor, though. I recently watched the show Scorpion right the way through. He's in that. And he had some really, really emotional moments in that show and played them off really well. There you go. Professor Braineffects puts us right. There were 7 Cylon models.
That's
then on
right.
top of that, the final 5. So 12 total.
5. Okay, that's okay. 5. I was thinking 3, but I knew they were both odd numbers.
Okay, I have nothing to add to the conversation thus far, but also step back to the chat room. So,
Absolutely.
Captain and Aber, take care.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
good
always
seeing
welcome.
you, Crimson.
Always good to see you. Seeing you. I can talk.
Loverpuss says, for me, I assume he's still talking about Galactica. He says, for me, it was like Lost in Space, which I'm assuming he means the recent remake.
Right.
Imagine if they made a new version with a human robot. Well, they kind of did. I mean, the robot in the new Lost in Space show is kind of he's humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs, just very tall and robot looking. I understand what you're saying, Blubberpuss, but seriously, just give the show a bit more than 1 episode worth of chance. At least get halfway through the season before you start throwing out judgments like that, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised in the direction it takes. Classic Terminator was T101. No, Green Robert, it was T800, sir. I'm glad you're willing to give it another try, Blubberpuss. As I say, I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Give it till at least halfway through season 1. It's a little bit of a slow burn to start with, but once you get out of the first 3 or 4 episodes where they're doing the whole 55-minute thing, it really starts to open up. They start laying groundwork for characters and stuff, and yeah, it'll start to grip you. T101 was, I think, the female model from Terminator 3.
I've never seen that, so I don't know.
I could be wrong on that, but I think it was the female one. Which Terminator films have you seen, Cappers?
1 and 2.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Blubberpuss, it's definitely not cheap. It really isn't. Yeah, 1 and 2 are great movies. Classic Cameron.
Okay, you're going to hate me for this, but I mean, that's like comparing, even though they're both in the 60s, that's like comparing the original series and Doctor Who. One was obviously cheap, and the other looked a little less cheap. Until you go to the Ultra HD and where you can see all the issues with Star Trek.
I don't know that the original Battlestar Galactica does look cheap, to be honest.
I'm talking about Doctor Who.
No, but you were comparing it to Battlestar, right?
Oh no, I was comparing it to Doctor Who. I was talking Star Trek versus Doctor Who.
Oh, Star Trek versus Doctor Who. Well, yeah. I mean, Doctor Who was, yeah, very cheap looking, even at the time.
But yeah, no, even the original Battlestar Galactica, the sets looked well done. Um, even well, particularly with the reimagining of it, because I don't even call it a remake, because it wasn't fully a remake. Um, you had new actors portraying the same characters, but they were in most part true to the characters, unlike the you know Star Trek Kelvin verse with like where the fuck these people come from. Um,
And Green Robert is giving us the official Google info. In the first Terminator, he was called the 101, and the model number T800 was introduced in Terminator 2 for the same model. So I don't know why they did that, but there you go. So Arnie,
yes,
the
you're right.
Arnie Terminator is both the T101 and the T800 for some unknown reason. There you go.
And yes, the original Battlestar Galactica Cylons were just guys in suits. That was the thing with the new one. Um, how would you best infiltrate in a society of people than to resemble them? Which is how best to get to know your enemy. You infiltrate. Don't. So having a metal suit walking through would be like, yeah, go away, grab guns, whatever. But
Yeah, you couldn't really have a Cylon spy if he was 7 foot tall and covered in shiny chrome.
Yeah,
I mean, they could have do show with just the metal Cylons, but I think even though that doesn't look cheap, it also limits a great deal what you can actually do with those Cylons. It would become a very repetitive show, just every episode, bunch of metal robots fighting with a bunch of fleshy humans, and there's no real capacity for intrigue and complexity in story writing and stuff like that. So while I get your concern, Bubba Puss, really it's they do play to its strengths, and as we've said, they have the shiny metal robots in there as well. But having fleshy human-looking Cylons really opens up a great potential for different kinds of plot twists and character arcs and subterfuge and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot going on in that show, and it's not just black and white. There's a lot of grey areas, in terms of where the plot goes and what the characters do and how they interact with each other. It really works well for the show.
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's one of the few series that I've not only seen, but that I would rewatch.
Well, I think we've put that one to rights, Cappers.
Oh, that's one we could say we've done.
Did I lose you, Captain?
Oh, for fuck's sake, really?
Oh, I've frozen, have I?
No, you're fine. I'm hearing you. I guess he did. Damn it. Uh, so anyhow, pinned comment is the link to get into the stream. If you'd like to join, feel free. Go ahead and do this right now. And let me check to see if that. Let's see here. Okay. Well, somebody. Super Blubberpuss.
Good morning, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. What's going on?
I appreciate you explaining about Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I mean, is there anything else you're wanting to know about it other than the?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the only reason why I mentioned about the swapping the aliens or the robots for aliens is, or I'm sorry, robots for humans is it just basically it wasn't because I mean I'm a fan of robots ever since like Forbidden Planet. And when I mentioned Lost in Space, I actually meant Lost in Space. I meant the original series. I thought the robot was one of my favorite things because they went through the effort of they spent more on the robot in the original series than the whole rest of the cast and the props and everything else. The robot then cost like $600,000 to build.
Wow.
So when the Battlestar Galactica came along, I thought, okay, this is cool. It's because it made it more like it was obviously, as you know, it was like a TV copy. Even though Larson had supposedly the idea before Star Wars came out, and correct, it was about the Mormons originally. But what I liked about it was they had the robots because it wasn't just another TV series about aliens in space because we've had many of those come and go.
Oh yeah.
So I think the Cylons is what helped Battlestar Galactica sell. So when I saw that first pilot of the new series, I was willing to give it a chance. I was excited, and I was just thinking, okay, are they going to have the Cylons? Are they going to be like a newer version or what? And then when I saw that, it wasn't. The only thing that crossed my mind was, oh no. And I understand what you guys saying. Well, all the possibilities. If you have a Cylon spy that could be human, it's like, yeah, I've seen all those other movies and TV shows that failed with that exact same plot. Think of all the movies and TV shows that have failed where the robots or the aliens were in human form. We've had those. That was my fault. I didn't want another one of those again. I wanted a show where I had my Cylons. I didn't need them swapped out. And I know, and it's also, it is true. I don't know if you ever saw the TV show called War of the Worlds. It was based on the movie.
Yes.
And that was another show that was a perfect example. My mother loved that show, and I hated it because I loved the book, and I was a fan of the original movie. And I tried to explain to her that the fact that the humans were always in alien form, it was just a cheap trope so they wouldn't have to spend the money on makeup. And then once every 2 or 3 episodes, one of them would rip the human mask off and they'd show the alien underneath. They did the same thing with V, the series. They would walk around with nothing but sunglasses on, and then maybe once a season they'd rip off the mask and you'd see an alien underneath. I just got tired of that trope. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. In fact, the one thing that bugged me during watching the first time was you had Starbuck sitting there with a woman sitting there acting like what's his name? I can't think of it now. Smoking a cigar.
Dirk Benedict?
Dirk Benedict. It's like, you're not Dirk Benedict. You don't look like him. You don't act like him. It's like, it doesn't work.
Well, no, because as soon as I saw that, you're right about that. But what crossed my mind is, oh no, another Buffy. Because you got to remember when Buffy and what is it, Firefly, whatever that other show I didn't watch. Once those came out, every female character was from Buffy to Black Widow are the same.
And hey, Mar.
Yep. Wonderful. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good evening. Or how I like to say, a wonderful good hello.
And how are you doing today?
Well, I just woke up. I'm doing fine, and I once again didn't get a notification. but I saw you were streaming, so I thought I'd just jump in and see what's going on.
Cool.
And I see we talk Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yes, that's the topic for the moment. I'll let you go on. Give me just a moment.
Or 2 moments, no problem. Well, actually, yeah, gender swapping characters, that was not really a big issue back then, at least not for me. So I could deal with it. I was like, okay, they could have done it better. But I also have to say that I kind of like the changes. I mean, it fit somehow. You had this new Starbuck that was still a tough person.
That's
And,
great. I don't mind the gender swapping. I can deal with. No, what our conversation originally was I thought that they had completely eliminated the robot Cylons and that they had changed them to humans to save money on budget and plot. But
yeah,
the gentleman
okay,
here,
that's true.
right? But the gentleman here explained to me that the robot Cylons are still in the series, and if that's the case, I'll give it another try.
Yeah, but not the big ones. I mean, the fat ones. They look completely different now. They are more CGI than anything else.
Oh, that's
And I
heartbreaking.
really,
Really? I didn't know that.
I really liked the fat silence back then.
So do I, because they were actually real. Now, when the remake came out of Battlestar Galactica, CGI was still in the early stages. So when you say the CGI was weak, that means it must have been really bad by today's standards, right?
Wait, let me see. Oh, I have to activate my camera for that one. So,
And hey, Darius.
give me a moment.
Captain Trek, you said you did not see Terminator 3, is that correct?
Correct.
Well, Terminator 3 is not a fantastic movie, but the reason why I have to recommend it, it has one of the best car chase scenes you'll ever see in a movie. You might want to give at least that part of the movie a chance.
I'll have to consider that. I'll do that.
Yeah, it's got a really good, long, extended car chase scene that they spend a lot of money on, and it shows. I remember at the time, it was out at the box office, and it was out at the same time as Matrix 2. And the Matrix 2 spent a lot of money on an elaborate car chase scene, because I saw that as well. And then, like a week later, I went and saw Terminator 3 when it came out, and it blew the chase scene from Matrix 2 right out of the water. But you could fast forward through the beginning of the movie and the end. Just watch the chase scene at least. I'm a fan of chase scene movies.
Well, that's not my personal forte, but I do like some good chasing as well.
Yeah, I think maybe the Blues Brothers still stands out as one of the best.
Start this one. Stop this one. I said stop this one. That's how it works.
Of course, I'm in California. It's going to be 100 degrees here today, and we're in the middle of a power outage.
So here you can see the new Cylon.
Interesting. It looks like maybe influence from Metropolis, kind of. Oh, to see what it looks like visually, if it looks realistic. That's another thing too. I know you guys are probably going to shout at me for this, but that was one of the reasons too why I really couldn't get into Battlestar Galactica. Sorry, Deep Space Nine. Because as soon as I saw them using Morph 2.0 effects on Odo, it's like, oh no, there's no way they can be able to sustain this through an entire series. I think that was some of the worst morphing effects I had ever seen. So since I didn't watch DS9 faithfully, I imagine they used it sparingly. Is that right or no?
There were times they did use it, but
it was terrible. Well, the thing is with me though is it went back all the way back to the Next Generation. Was whenever they show special effects scenes, I could tell they were filmed on video, and that my eye would catch that, and it would take me out of the show every single time. So when Odo would transform, you could tell it was done on video. And I don't know. That's when I said I'm done. I couldn't figure out why they were that cheap back then to shoot this. Why I don't know why. And the special effects. Why the special effects on video? I never figured it out. But oh well. Like on Start in the Next Generation, that episode where Riker and Picard shoot that alien in the head explodes. That was really poor quality video. It's like, what? And then it cuts to the next scene which is in film, and it's like, it was very jarring. I don't know, but I'm sure I'm probably the only one.
Well, no, I wouldn't say you're the only one. But there are people that, yeah. Well, just like with me and music, it's like, okay, I can tell a drum machine from drums. It's like, ugh.
Oh, you mean the synthetic, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or how about this synthetic smoke on screen? That still looks fake, right?
Yeah.
In Titanic, you could tell that was really mist coming out of their mouths. The same as in The Thing. But now they use it on everything, and it looks terrible. It looks horrible. Imagine the days where they actually had to cool a set down to so cold where the actor's breath was like in The Exorcist. They would never do that again.
Mm-mm. And hello, 54.5 Access Radio.
So, has anybody seen Disney's Jungle Cruise?
Yep.
And
Watched it
how
on
is it?
Enzo's streams.
And what's your opinions?
Well, I do not know the Jungle Cruise tour in Disney World or Disneyland or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot really compare it to that one, as it actually should be a movie about this tour.
The tour is just a boat going down a lake with trees on either side and a few animals here and there. That's pretty much it.
And what I didn't like about the movie is that they had Joachim, a German prince, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and he spoke English with his subordinates, which in German would never do. Also, his German was more Austrian than German.
Ah.
He had a bad Austrian American accent, which I also didn't really like there.
You think that was intentional?
No. You do not say that someone who is from Vienna is German.
Well, no, the reason why I was asking if it was intentional is, as an example, in the Star Trek 2009 movie, Anton Yelchin was actually Russian, but they made him talk like he had a bad Walter Koenig American Russian accent, which I never figured out. Well, I was wondering maybe if it was a creative decision on the part of the director.
No, especially in these times where everyone is bitching about representation, they should do it correct.
Yes.
I totally agree with that.
and get some German actors to do the part.
Well, that's easy to do.
See, the problem is they're talking about representation. They're actually doing representation. It's just there's a lot of fakeness to it.
Well, I agree with representation, but they have to be talented representatives. They can't be representatives based on their skin color or their gender or their race,
Right.
which is unfortunately what Hollywood is doing now. That Hollywood's not is these days are like, we don't care if you're talented, you're the right color. That's why things really aren't very good right now.
The thing with Jungle Cruise is you saw Joachim the first time, and he was this blonde guy, and I was like, oh shit, it's German. You know, it was so typical German. So, but he
Everybody's got
spoke
that
English.
stereotype. Yeah, everyone has that stereotype master race image in their minds. That's why they always show that trope.
As I say, but he spoke English, which also at this time was more, well, it wasn't really common. For example, my grandpa, he said, of course I speak a second language, but in school they learned French and not English.
Right.
So that's one of those things. But then I have to say my grandpa spoke as well as me about 15 languages, all in all. But he was way better with them than I am.
That's usually what happens with the older generations.
Yeah, no, my grandpa needed it because he was selling stuff worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
He was a magician. He made his own tricks and he sold them worldwide. So he had to speak all those languages, or at least
Nice.
understand them for some part.
Right.
And that's how it actually worked out for him. That he learned the languages just to know what the people want from him. Yeah, I need this trick. I need that trick. My grandpa was the one person that won an award from Coca-Cola for the best trick with Coca-Cola. He sued a bottle of Coca-Cola in two parts. Yeah, like the Virgin. You
Mhm.
saw the part, and then he put it together and drunk it. And I still, well, I know I have the trick here, but I still haven't seen it, and I would like to see how it looks when it is performed.
Do you remember? Do you remember when he performed it?
No, I've never seen it. That's the thing.
I mean,
That
the
was
era, the time, the year. Do you know about when he may have done it?
no,
Okay.
not really. I have pictures of it. He gets the prize from Max Schmeling, the boxer himself, as Max Schmeling here in Germany was represented for Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really say which year it was taken, the picture, or when the when it was performed.
That would be really cool to see. That's an interesting part of history.
Exactly. And my dad
So many
wants to
things that
sell. My dad wants to sell this prize that my grandpa got back then, because it's pure silver. It's a silver plate from with the writing on it.
Mm-hmm.
This prize for trick with Coca-Cola, and no one can actually give us another prize for it than the silver prize,
that's what I was
because
wondering. Yeah.
they have absolutely no idea how they should value the other things, like for example the history of the city, or the history that it means to the city, the history that it means to Coca-Cola, and other things that might come into it as well.
Right.
So they cannot really make out how much historical worth is in this plate, which is pretty sad.
It is. That's too bad. You don't want to sell it as weight and have somebody melt it down.
No.
Because exactly, I would actually give it to the Coca-Cola museum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a really good idea.
But as I say, my dad want to sell it, and Coca-Cola also has no idea how much they would or should give us for it.
No, they would want you to donate it. That's what museums do.
No, they really came to us as we showed it to them, and they said, "Well, how much do you want for it, or how much is it worth?
Mm-hmm.
We want to pay you for it." That's what Coca-Cola did. We want to
So you
pay
just
you
never
for it.
agreed
Also
on a
pay-
price or a value?
We never agreed on a price.
Yeah, that's something that's hard to do because, you have physical value and then you have your personal family value of what it means to you as a family heirloom.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that it is worth anything to when it comes to mental value. Or
Well, when you pass away, that means it'll be worth even less, right?
probably, but I'm the one. I collect everything that comes somehow from my grandpa. So I have the old prospects he sold for that he had for selling his tricks and everything. I have some of his tricks even still in my possession.
Nice.
That
Around when did he pass away?
Oh man, it was 1986, 1984 or 1986 when
It
he
sounds like he
passed
lived a
away.
fascinating life. Which my grandfather was a magician.
In the end, it was a Russian bullet that killed him.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that.
A bullet that never got out after World War II, and then it started moving, and that's what in the end got to him.
Oh, so it was an old injury that just worked its way until it killed him?
Yep.
Oh wow. He must have been in a lot of pain for a long time.
For me, the worst part of it was that the day before he died, we went in an argue. And that was the very, very, very first time he ever yelled at me. And the last words from me to him was, "I wish he was dead."
Oh.
And next morning he was dead. That's something that really still gets to me.
I'm sure it does, but you can't blame yourself. You had no idea that was going to happen. And you know yourself, you didn't actually feel that way. So it's not like you actually feel that way, right?
I
So
do feel,
don't blame
I
yourself.
do feel guilty. Believe me,
No, I
do.
mean, I know you feel guilty, but what I mean is when you said that to him, you didn't really, I mean, you don't really hate the guy, right? It was just something
That's true.
superficial that you had said.
That's true. I never.
Right. It wasn't from your heart.
No, of course not.
And I'm sure he understands that is what I'm saying. I'm sure he still loved you right up to the very end.
He gave me
I
a lot
always,
of good advice, even if I couldn't really do anything with it at the time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was like 6 years old. Uh,
he
as
probably
he
had a lot
told
of.
me, as he told me to beware of women with big boobs.
It's okay as long as they're on the bottom.
No, he actually said, if you have a woman with two big boobs and you need two hands for one boob, then you probably need two men for one woman, which is bad. It's bad karma. And I have very small hands.
I used to joke about my father because he was an alcoholic and he spent every day in a bar. So growing up, whenever the people would ask me, what does your dad do for a living? I would say my dad's a magician. Every time he walks down the street, he turns into a bar. But, I wish he was a real magician. It would have been nice.
Well, see, that's the thing. My grandpa can be found on Wikipedia. So he
What was
has.
his stage name?
Oh man, Carlo the Great. But if you look for Carlo the Great, you mostly get Carl the Great.
Interesting. Do you know if your grandfather met any of the big famous magicians?
Come again?
Do you know if your grandfather, did he ever meet any of the big famous magicians? Like he didn't meet Houdini, did he?
Um, Honestly, I'm not sure about that.
Well, you're probably too young to understand.
So wait a sec. Here we go. Wikipedia page. Copy. Private chat. That's good. That would be my grandpa without doxing me. Carlo the Great, the Mölmsch Witchmaster, or Warlock. Warlock is the correct translation, I guess.
Yeah, that would be a.
Let's see here. German magician, dealer, inventor, and author.
And writer. He also wrote his own books back in the day. And my dad said he always was a little bit stupid because he sold his tricks way under price. For example, he had a trick with a 6mm pistol that actually was produced by Acme. not kidding. It really was produced by Acme, and I still have it here somewhere. And he sold those pistols for the trick, or with the trick, for half the price that it would usually go for here in Germany, because he could get the pistols so cheap. He could have made twice the money on that trick that he sold back then.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah, but I think our family never was good with money at all.
Did your grandfather try to pass the tradition on to anybody else?
I would have loved to take it on, but as I say, I have two small fingers. I cannot really do the tricks that my grandpa did. I mean, he was 1 meter and 90 tall, and I'm only 1 meter and 76.
So his height had a lot to do with the tricks. Is that right?
No, he just had bigger hands.
right.
So
And
so you're talking about like for the sleight of hand tricks, right?
yep, it's mostly about the hands. Magic is mostly about the hands. You have to
Distract.
to give the audience something to distract them. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of magic is hiding things behind your hands while you're doing things.
Exactly. That is also part of it.
I'm sure he had to meet some other famous magicians.
Yeah, probably. I would say so. I just wouldn't exactly know whom it is. And if you go to the site that I just linked in,
Mhm.
you can see my grandpa Wismar Schmeling, where he gets the plate that I talked about before, the prize for Coca-Cola, best trick.
So
with
was he like
Coca-Cola.
was he like a magician for hire? For like example, if I was a company and I wanted a certain trick or something, he
In
could
his
create
later
it for me?
days, yeah, he was a magician for hire, but he also made the tricks on request. So some magician would come to him and tell him, "Hey, I would like to do this and that. Can you help me figure something out?"
Wow, that's incredible. That takes a lot of skill.
And my grandpa would be sitting there in his little bureau and start working on something and figure out how you can make a trick bigger or smaller or make it work at all.
Ugh.
But yeah, as I say, I have most of his books here, and there is a lot of science books involved in it.
Wow.
And at one point, he even was trying to build a perpetuum mobile. Which was for me funny, because I said, there must be a way to build a perpetuum mobile. And then I got to the books of my grandpa, and he was actually researching the exact same thing that I was researching. So he did all the research for me already, or most of it,
Crazy.
without me knowing it. Without me knowing it, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I thought it was very interesting that two people would do the exact same thing and start at probably the same parts and come to the same conclusions.
Well, sometimes two minds think alike.
Even if now the technology is a little bit further than it was back then, and I could go with complete different ingredients, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, very interesting.
But it's
Oops.
funny how people that far apart, well, a generation apart, still can work on the same thing without even knowing the other one was working on it already
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. It is.
or thinking about it.
I don't know why, but I keep thinking like Young Frankenstein, where he picks up his grandfather's work.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, gentlemen, I need to get ready to hit the road, so I'm going to log out
Absolutely.
here
Well,
for a little bit.
thank you for stopping by. Always good to have you hop on.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, gentlemen, and thank you for explaining Battlestar Galactica. I will watch it.
Yeah, it's not that bad actually. It's
As
not
long as they
really
have my
the
robots.
original.
Okay, as
It's
long as they have my robots, I'll
not
be
really
okay.
the original series where they jump from planet to planet and find new civilizations, but still interesting.
Yes.
When you say that, so they're not weekly episodes. They have it where it's like an entire series arc. Is that what you mean?
No, what I mean is it's not like they jump to a place in while fleeing from the silence and land on a planet that's already occupied by humans. That's not what's happening there.
What would you
Well,
say the
in
difference
the
is?
old series, you had them jumping back in time, meeting Nazis. You have them jumping to a planet where there is already humans on it, but they
Yeah.
live in like old
Uh,
Western style cities and stuff like that. You do not have that
right,
in the new series.
right. It was a bunch of old TV tropes. So, how would you explain the new series does in contrast?
In contrast, it's just a search for Earth and fleeing from the silence, trying to get away from them as good as
Um,
possible with the
are they still
surviving
search?
humanity.
Okay. Are they still searching for Earth?
They're still searching for Earth, yeah.
Yes.
Eventually they will find it, who knows?
That part of it is still the same.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good enough for me. I don't mind if they drop the old tropes with the Western towns and all that. Yeah, I believe me. I thought that was old and cliche as well. So yeah, if they can do something better than that, that sounds even better.
Hello world, it's Brittle Prey 5, Kapla.
Hello,
Kablah.
bird.
Super Blubberbush, you will love the new Battlestar Galactica. And
As
don't
long as they
worry,
have my robots.
the robots are there and the CGI is pretty good. I had no problem with the CGI.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to hear then. Yeah.
But
'Cause-
also there's no problem with Odo either. I mean he doesn't transform every episode.
No.
So
okay.
you
So that's
definitely
I
need
don't
to
mind.
watch DS9.
And that's where
Well,
you have lost Blubberpuss.
well, him transforming, I don't mind the transforming. It was the appearance because back then the morphing was the CGI. The quality just wasn't. It was in its very early stages. In fact, it was done with the program Morph 2.0, which it was on every store shelf. You could buy it for $80, and that was just very disappointing. I thought since it was a professional TV show, they could have done a little better.
To be honest, if you're into Deep Space Nine, it really, like, if you're into Star Trek, even the 60s doesn't version of the show, it doesn't matter that you're looking at a sponge as an alien because it's your imagination you're using. But there's really no issues with the quality of effects in DS9.
Okay.
At least in my
Do
opinion.
you know if the effects shots and space shots and all that? Do you know if those were done on video like they did with
They
Next Generation?
were done on video, yes. But
That's what
I don't know. Do you? I don't know how to ask this. Do you sail the high seas at all?
Once or twice, yes, I do, sir.
Well, if you actually own or decide to buy the DVDs of DS9, there is a fan HD upgrade of DS9 out there, readily available. That's been upgraded to 960p, and it
The entire
is
series.
the entire series. It is spectacular.
And yet Paramount hasn't even done that yet, of course.
No, there's no official upgrade. This was all done using AI. So the special effects upgrade too. And as somebody who's watched DS9 on all its possible sources, from DVD to Netflix to Paramount Plus to Hulu, I tell you, this AI upscale to 960p blows them all away.
Yeah.
So it's like an up conversion.
It is, but it is done like the fan who did it spent so much time in every episode fine tuning it for that episode that it comes through with a TLC that you probably wouldn't get unless they paid a lot of money to somebody to upscale that.
No, that's great to hear. I'm glad you told me that. I will look for it.
You can do a Google search for DS9 960p upscale, and there'll be there's legit places. There's a Reddit page for it, and a code repository page for it that can give you the hashes for the turrets.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yep.
Just to keep an eye out if you decide to watch, might as well watch it with class.
Oh yeah,
that will help. Yes, that an upgrade of the video quality will definitely help it be easier on the eyes. That's where I got. I'll make this really fast because I have to leave. But that's where I got cut off the other day when we were talking about Twilight Zone. That season that was filmed, they were filmed an hour long of Twilight Zone. They were also done on video. But there were a couple of episodes of that season you may want to cover because they're still really good. I don't know how much of that conversation you guys heard me say that.
Yeah, I did. I'll probably do this season. I mean,
All right. I think that's
By the
also the
time we
season
get
where.
to it.
Yeah, I think that's also the season where they find a submarine that had sunk for many years, and they can hear tapping down below.
Mhm.
I think that was one of the hour-long episodes. So there was some really good ones, and that was one of the really good. That's a highlight of the whole series. So when they find like an old World War II submarine, and they can hear people tapping down below. So it was a really good one. So give that a try if you get a chance.
I will. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm heading out. I got a long drive. It's hot here in California, and like I said, our power's out. So I'm going to be heading to the Bay Area. I'll be working there where it's cooler.
Oh, well, enjoy your trip and stay safe.
I will. I will. I'll check in tomorrow morning for the morning brew, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
All right, later, guys.
See you later.
Here.
Take care.
Bye bye.
And of course, YouTube didn't notify because don't worry, you weren't the only one who didn't get notified.
Oh, they notified me, but I was asleep at the beginning.
No, I didn't get notification. I still didn't got notification.
You know what? Did I get? I assume I got. I mean, I found you, so I did, but it just, yeah, I wasn't up. I had just woken up, I guess.
Well, thank you, Darius. That usually helps more than anything, or the retweets, because yeah, unfortunately,
Let's see. No, for today I just got one notification for one stream, and that's Drunk 3PO.
yeah,
I didn't got anything else today.
Easton said I got notified. I was knitting a hat and lurking. Cool. Oh, I get plenty of people who lurk. Let's see here. Got a notification earlier. Let me check what that's about.
Knitting, huh?
When I'll have to write it later. When does what is that called? When is the Rumble?
Hmm.
Do you know when the Rumble is?
Nope.
No clue.
I honestly I can't remember such things, to be very fair here.
Hmm?
Because of the time zones and everything.
Yeah.
It's for me a little bit different than for you probably.
You're right.
And Eastern Burkholder, knitting, never got into it. But I do crochet.
What do you crochet?
Crochet? Is it really not crochet? No, okay. Yeah, I crochet. Uh, Back in the day, I made some covers and stuff like that.
Cool.
But with harder materials, I also did vests and gloves. And with harder materials or harder stuff, I mean rings, because that's called crochet as well. If you make chain armor.
Ah. I've never done that.
Yeah, I've learned crochet in school, as well as working with clay and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And puppeteering I've also learned in school. And then as I figured out that those people who was walking down the street once in a year in middle-aged clothings was not fans of the Kelly family, and I figured out that we have a middle-aged market here in our city. I also started to get into crafting my own armor. So
Ah.
first thing I tried to learn was how to make my own chain armor, my own chainmail.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It's not really that hard, to be honest. You just need to remind how to place the rings to make it work. Failures are unforgiven.
So let's see here. What do you got going on today, Bird?
Honestly, I don't know. Probably just do some open lines or something.
Okay.
Though at this point, I don't even know when. Probably wouldn't be till a little later than usual.
Okay. Well,
If someone else wants to stream, feel free.
oh yeah, I agree completely. Anyone else wants to join before Bird decides to go live? Go for it. It'll be fun. But oh. Excuse me, I think I'm gonna go get some rest. But thank you for joining me, everyone. And I would like to thank everyone who's been on the panel and in the chat. And I hope you have a good day. And hope to see you over on Bird Stream later.
If he streams.
Take care.